My husband has a second family on the side. My 41 female, husband 52 male has a second family on the side. I've been sitting with this information for almost 2 weeks now and I still don't know how to proceed. My husband has been in what seems like a committed relationship with another woman and he's playing happy families with her and her 3 sons. They're even planning on having a baby. A week ago, I stumbled on a TikTok account of this lady sharing her recipes and in the background I recognized my husband's back. I wasn't too sure at first, but after taking a real good look and as his wife, I know that fool's neck, back, legs, and the clothing he was wearing. So I went through her posted videos just to piece together a confirmation of it really being my husband, and I continued to keep an eye on him and his movements, but he seemed normal. It's clear to me now that he has his cheating down to a science. Every time he went on his work trips, she posts these videos saying she's cooking a new recipe because her man is coming back from his work trip. She'd plate the food up, and I'd recognize his grubby hands by their look and the way he'd hold the cutlery. He has a peculiar way of holding it, kind of looks like a Neanderthal discovering forks and knives. I can't believe this bastard has been with her for 3 years. I don't know how he found time to start an entire relationship on the side. I thought we were happy. He tells me he loves me all the time. Always brings me gifts from his work trips. When he's home, we have a great love life and pretty much sleep together 4 to 6 times a week. We talked all the time. We've been married for 21 years and now we have 2 daughters. We lost our eldest son 10 years ago, but we worked through it and got closer than ever before. We are even due to have our 22nd anniversary and it's his turn to plan it. We alternate who plans the anniversary each year. I know he's planning an elaborate party for us, so why is he cheating? I'm so angry and don't know what steps to take. I'm utterly distraught. I thought we were happy. I thought he loved our little life. I feel like I can't think and I barely know where to start. I can barely focus. What do I do and how do I do it? I love coming on here and reading things and giving advice, but now that it's me, I feel like I can't think. I nearly burned my kitchen down because I literally spaced out and forgot what I was cooking.
Am I the asshole for still going to my daughter's wedding, even though my other daughter isn't invited due to her panic attacks? I have 2 daughters. They are 27 and 24. The issue is my younger daughter got into a bad situation when she was in high school. She now has panic attacks and is on meds for almost 8 years now. My oldest is not close to her younger sibling. It boils down to celebrations usually getting interrupted by a panic attack. I know my youngest isn't doing it on purpose, but it really sucks when you are at a graduation and a panic attack happens. Sometimes she can get away and calm down, but sometimes she pushes herself too hard and it results in an attack. Now on to the issue. My oldest is getting married. Everyone was invited to her engagement party, and during the event, the youngest had an attack. The event ended soon after, since the whole incident ruined the vibe. My oldest was really upset and kept going on about how she shouldn't have invited her. Invitations were sent out for the wedding and my oldest didn't invite her younger sibling. I asked her about it and she informed me that she wants her wedding to go smoothly, unlike all her other events that have been interrupted by panic attacks. I asked her to reconsider and she said no. She wants one day where it is about her. My youngest is really upset and asked me to skip the wedding. I informed her I will not. I don't want to miss my daughter getting married. This resulted in an argument and she called me a jerk. I'm looking for opinions. My youngest gets attacks at all types of events, not just her sister's. So this isn't I am trying to ruin my sister's event situation. She has been seeing a therapist. The main issue with the panic attacks is that they come on suddenly. She could be doing fine all night and something pushes her over the edge. She is a million times better than when she was a teenager and getting attacks twice a day. Please help.
Story time about how my husband moved his mistress into our house and wants me to pay for the bills. My husband and I have been married for 5 years. This man chased me for 2 years before I even said yes to one date. The reason why is because I was never attracted to him. When we first met, he was absolutely shy. He did not know how to talk to girls. He was 22 and he was still a virgin. Finally, after 2 years, I said yes to going on a date. He said on the first date that he was obsessed with me. First red flag, but he was different from every man I've ever dated. He was sweet, considerate, he remembered special events, and he loved my family. My family loved him, and that's why I finally decided to give him a chance. Now, just for reference, I'm a 10. He's a 4, maybe on a good day. Him dating me bloated his ego. You see, anytime we went into a restaurant, people stared at me. Guys were always complimenting him on having such a beautiful girlfriend. He proposed and I said yes. And we started having problems because of his lack of sex experience. He lied about being a virgin. But I had a feeling. This man didn't even know how to kiss. So I taught him how to do everything. Then he got really good at doing the dirty. I was pretty happy in our marriage. He's extremely successful and he let me have my own life. And I was able to continue my modeling career. But everything went to shit last year. He was acting completely strange. Then he did the unthinkable. He asked me for an open relationship. I said no. Of course, I asked him why he even wanted one. And this is when he gave me the biggest BS of a lie. He said he wanted to get better at sex for me. Like I said in part 1, he had no sex experience. I taught him everything he knew. And his ego got so big because he was with somebody like me. You see, he's a 4 and I'm a 10. For 2 months, he wore me down. My mistake was saying yes to the open relationship. As soon as I said yes, things just fell off. He would find any excuse not to come home. He was at the gym. He had to stay late at work. He was hanging out with friends. I knew he was doing someone else. But because an open relationship goes both ways, I decided to get me some. This is when I started seeing a guy that I had met at the gym months ago. But the thing is, we only went out on 2 dates. All I wanted was to get some attention from a different guy. All we did was make out. But my husband was acting out. I decided to go through his phone and I found Tinder. When I confronted him, he told me that this was his way of trying to get girls. And that he was just getting experience this way. Then something really bad happened. Got laid off of work. But luckily, I do have a high income. So I was able to afford all of the bills. Everything was going okay because he said he was looking for a job. Until one day he says that he met somebody who needed help. A girl that he was attracted to, who was evicted from her apartment. He said he was slightly attracted to her. Because we were in an open relationship, he expected me to understand. That's when he suggested that we should let her move in and pay rent. To be honest, at this point, I kind of wanted the help. He had gotten laid off from his job and I was currently paying all the bills. So I was like, okay, fine, but as long as you don't have anything with her. She can only stay here for a month. He said yes, and everything was fine. I give you permission to call me stupid in the comments because that's exactly what I am. This girl moves in, she's in her early 30s, and right away, I just know they're having an affair. And I asked him about it, he said no. And plus, we have an open relationship, so if he wanted to, he could. This is when he tells me that she actually can't afford to pay us rent, and asked me politely if I could just continue paying the rent, and the groceries, and all the bills. You guys are gonna be proud of me. I put my foot down and said no. This is when he begged. He literally begged me. So I agreed to keeping her there for 2 weeks. Like every cliche cheating story, I caught them making out in the garage. They didn't even bother to hide it. That's when he confessed they've been dating for 2 months, and that technically she's his girlfriend. But again, he's only doing this because he wants to gain more experience for my benefit. That's when I asked both of them to leave, and then she started crying and begged me to let her stay. She explained that she was running away from an abusive boyfriend, and that really I was their safe haven. She even showed me videos of him abusing her, so I let her stay. But I kicked my husband out still. So he was forced to go to his parents' house because he can't afford a hotel. It's been 3 months and she's still living with me. I even got her a job at my modeling agency, and she broke up with my husband. She's actually a great roommate and we have a ton of fun together. And of course, my husband is begging to come back. Now the problem is, if we get divorced, I'd have to give him half of my money. So I don't think that's gonna happen. Believe it or not, I kind of miss him, so I want him to come back. But at the same time, he's trash. He does not deserve me or her. What do you guys think I should do? Should I just leave him there?
I just found out that my boyfriend's uncle is secretly the father of his 2 little sisters and nobody knows about it. I don't know what to do. You all may be asking, how did you accidentally find out this information? And honestly, I'm still asking myself the same thing. But for some background, I was spending the 4th of July with my boyfriend's family. Out of everybody in my boyfriend's family, I'm probably the closest to his dad. We have a super similar sense of humor, and I just think he's such a great guy. He's always been so devoted to his family, loves his kids so much, and has always been super present, going to every single activity, event, graduation, celebration. At the end of the night, everybody was in the kitchen cleaning up, and I was outside with my boyfriend's dad, helping him clean up out there. I was talking to him about how my boyfriend is going on his first long business trip since we've been in a relationship. He's going to be gone for about 2 months, and I was talking to his dad about how I was a little worried about doing long distance. Now, for context, my boyfriend's mom and dad did long distance for 2 years while they were married. This was after they had my boyfriend, but before his twin little sisters were born. It's very important to note that during this 2 years, they did not see each other a single time. So my boyfriend's dad starts giving me advice and talks about his experience with his wife. And he says, you know, when me and my wife were apart 22 years ago, and continues on with his story. Something about that year really gave me pause. And that's because anytime him or my boyfriend's mom talked about the time they spent apart, they were always so specific on the year. And they always said that it was 24 years ago. And they've been consistent. Last year, it was 23 years ago. The year before that, it was 22 years ago. So the fact that right now he's saying it was 22 years ago was weird. Especially because my boyfriend's twin little sisters are 22 years old. So math ain't mathin'. And I should have ignored it. But I cannot leave well enough alone. So I interrupt him and I say, wait, don't you mean 24 years ago, not 22? And something about his face, just the way his face dropped, it let me know that he knew he said something wrong. And he tries to correct it. He's like, oh, you're right, 24 years ago. The twins are 22. Must have just mixed up the years. But I don't know, the way that he seemed panicked, I could just tell that something was not right. He literally just stops in the middle of his story, which he never does. The man loves to talk. And he's like, you know what? I think that they're probably waiting for us inside. So we should go in. And the rest of the night, the man barely spoke, which, again, very unlike him. Because it was already so late, we decided to just stay at his parents' house, but I couldn't sleep at all. I just kept thinking about the conversation over and over, and I kept trying to convince myself that I was just overthinking things and that, he just got the year wrong, but I couldn't convince myself. I just knew that something was wrong. So the next morning, when my boyfriend's dad asks me if I want to go with him to grab breakfast, I really don't. I do not want to go with him to grab breakfast, but obviously I say, of course, yeah, let's go. Let me tell you, the car ride to the donut shop, super awkward. The small talk was horrible. When we get to the parking lot, he doesn't turn the car off and just sits there silently. And he says, we need to have a talk. I proceeded to sit in the car in complete and utter horror for the next 10 minutes as my boyfriend's dad told me the story. He said that he knew that I could tell something was up when he got the dates wrong. And that's because they've been lying to their kids about the dates. It was 22 years ago that his mom and his dad were long distance. During that time, my boyfriend was just a baby and his mom was really overwhelmed with having to take care of him all by herself. Luckily, my boyfriend's uncle, his dad's brother, lived super close to them and volunteered to help out where he could. During this time, my boyfriend's uncle and his mom got very, very close. Now, to make a long story short and to spare you all the details, yes, my boyfriend's mom and his uncle had an affair that resulted in her becoming pregnant with his twin little sisters. And my boyfriend's parents and uncle decided that the best course of action was to just pretend that the twin girls were his dad's. Apparently, the uncle never wanted kids and was fine taking the fun uncle role in the girl's life. He said that the only people who knew were the three of them and now me. So obviously, my first question is, why did you tell me this? Like, why didn't you just double down on the fact that you got the dates wrong? And he said, you know what, Kels? I've known you for a while now, and I feel like you wouldn't have been able to let it go. You would have just started asking questions, and I was worried that everything was going to come out in a way that we just did not want it to. He decided that the best course of action was to just tell me. He hasn't even told his wife that he was telling me because he didn't want to worry her with the fact that I was going to know. Then he proceeded to break down into tears and beg me not to say anything to my boyfriend. Like, excuse me? This is the position you're putting me in? Just to lie? This is like a huge family secret. He said he knows it's a lot to ask, but it would absolutely destroy his family, and they really do have the most amazing family dynamic. So I don't know what to do. Do I tell my boyfriend? Do I keep it a secret? I feel like if I decide not to tell my boyfriend, I have to break up with him because I don't think I can continue to be with him and keep this from him. I really just wish he never would have told me. To be honest, I don't think there is a right decision here, but I want to make the best choice that I can.
My best friend is cheating on his wife. Originally posted June 20th, 2024. I don't know if this is the right thread to post, but I need help. My best friend, 33 male, and I, 32 male, have been inseparable since we were 5. We went to school together, did most of life's major milestones together, and I consider him my brother in all but blood. When his grandmother passed while we were still in high school, she even had me in her will, leaving me a small trust to use for college. For as long as I can remember, his family has been mine and vice versa. We both got married in 2017. Our wives are very close and have been since we were dating. While I'm not as close with her as my wife, I see his wife like my sister and I care about her the same way. 3 days ago, I was riding in my best friend's car when he asked me to put on some music. I picked up his phone and put in his code. We've both known each other's passcodes for years. And while I was navigating Spotify, a text came through from a pizza place that said, "Coming over tonight?" I sat there stunned for a few seconds before turning and asking him who the fuck is pizza place. And he immediately started yelling at me for going through his messages before I told him what happened. He pulled over into a parking lot and spent a few minutes yelling at each other until he finally came clean. He's been hooking up with a coworker for about a month. He says that he still loves his wife and has no intentions of leaving her. He begged me to not tell his wife and that he's going to find a way to break it off with this other woman. But he says he's in too deep to just ghost her and he doesn't know how to cut it off yet. He swears it will never happen again and that this mistake doesn't warrant ruining his and his wife's marriage. After some back and forth, I reluctantly agreed to stay quiet, but later that day I remembered something that might change my mind. He and his wife started the process of IVF a few months ago. I haven't pressed for details, but she has used my wife as support through the process, and I know it's been very taxing on her. Ultimately, my dilemma is this. Is it right for me to keep this a secret, knowing that they are trying to bring a child into the world, and knowing that child could be born into a broken home if his wife finds out after she gets pregnant? I'm torn between the friend that I love like my brother and what I feel like would be the right thing to do. I know I'm not the one who was wronged here, but I feel so betrayed and angry. I feel like he's done something that's going to tear apart the small family the four of us have built together and the bigger one we planned on having one day. I know he's not a bad person, and up to this point, I'm pretty sure he has been a model husband. I'm so unsure what to do, and I need help. Edit, thank you for all your replies and advice. I talked to my wife last night, and she asked a friend's wife to come over tomorrow. I talked to my wife last night and she asked a friend's wife to come over tomorrow night to talk. I'll update with more details afterwards. Update June 22nd, 2024. First off, thank you everyone for your advice. I think I was still kind of in a mode of shock and panic, and reading your comments helped me sober up. I appreciate you all. I'd also like to quickly address those of you who suggested burying it because I have no ties to this woman, or he's your friend, not her, or bros before hoes. This isn't some random girl you just started hanging out with. They've been married for 7 years and were dating 2 before that. She's a big part of our lives for nearly a decade and is my friend in her own right, even if she doesn't share the same history that me and her husband do. So the idea of I have no ties to her or owe her nothing is just wrong. The evening after posting this, I told my wife, you all were right that I should have kept it from her in the first place. She listened to what happened and then sat silent for a minute. I was afraid she was going to be mad at me for not telling her like a lot of you said, but no. She said that a part of her was relieved because she could tell that something had been severely bothering me these past couple of days. But aside from offering the occasional, are you okay? She still decided that I would tell her when I was ready to share. Though, when I told her about the thread, she was slightly annoyed and thought it was silly for me to have brought my problem to a bunch of strangers on the internet before I brought it to her. I apologize for not telling her sooner and for waiting to react despite knowing in my heart what I needed to do. My wonderful, amazing, and astoundingly understanding wife responded with, even when we're sure what is right, it's only human to hesitate when we know it's going to cost us dearly. Damn. Then, or that said, she and I are all good. After our discussion, I showed her the thread. She read comments for nearly an hour before we started talking again. Ultimately, we decided that we had to tell my friend's wife, who I will from here on out refer to as sister, so I don't keep having to say friend's wife. The reason we did this instead of an ultimatum is my wife was concerned he could use the time to cover his tracks or orchestrate her opinion against us. Neither of us really felt that would be in character for him, but we wouldn't have thought it in character for him to cheat either. My wife texted sister and asked if she would come over after work the next day. Sister works mostly evenings, so she usually gets off around 11. My wife had told her it was a serious conversation, so sister was pretty tense when she arrived at our house. We sat down and told her everything. After hearing it, she took a long breath and said, I've known for a couple of weeks. Apparently, she had asked her boss if she could go home early one night a few weeks ago because she wasn't feeling well and found that he wasn't home. She texted him asking what he was up to, and he said he was at home watching TV. She tried to look up his location on their tracking app, but it was turned off. She left home and waited until when her shift would normally end to return. He was home when she got there, and when she asked how his evening was or if he did anything interesting, he told her he'd been home all evening watching TV and playing video games. She checked the app again, and sure enough, his location was turned back on. Sister said that until we told her, she didn't have any proof, but felt she knew what must have been happening. We asked her what she was planning to do now that she knew. Here's the part I didn't see coming. She plans to move forward with IVF. According to her, it's always been her lifelong dream to be a mother, and without IVF, it will never happen. IVF is expensive. She won't be able to afford it on her own, and she's afraid that if she leaves her husband, she'll never get another chance. Her current plan is to follow through with implantation and decide what will happen to her marriage afterward. She says, They have a healthy embryo and she wants to give her child a chance, even if it means she could end up raising the child on her own. When I asked if there was any way she could see them reconciling when this is all over, she said it depended on him. In the end, she asked us to please keep it quiet and not tell him that she knows. We agreed and reassured her we'd be there for her if she needed anything. I called my friend the next day and told him that, while I still love him, I need space after learning what he did and that we wouldn't be seeing each other for a while. I still feel a lot of things. Relief from not bearing the secret, sorry for sister and what I fear she's going to have to go through, anger at my friend for destroying our family as it has been, if not destroying it entirely, and grief from what feels like the loss of a person who has been with me for my whole life. I hope for all three of their sakes they can work it out, but I know these chances are slim. This whole thing has been exhausting, and while I'm not sure exactly how to move forward from it, now I can at least try. Thank you all again for your help. I doubt I'll have any more updates. Relevant comments here. Comment, what did your friend say when you told him you didn't want to see him anymore? Original OP, mostly he just kept apologizing and said he was going to fix things.
Am I the asshole for secretly eating takeout food my pregnant wife cannot eat because she has gestational diabetes? My wife, 34 female, and I, 35 male, have been married for 10 years and have been together for 15. She is 7 months pregnant and has gestational diabetes, which has been very hard on her, and by extension, very hard on me too, and our relationship. Her doctor has strictly recommended she follows a strict diet, and that means no sugar or high-calorie foods, such as Alfredo sauce or pizza and the likes. Naturally, she has been very, very upset because she has cravings, but there's no way she can indulge. She has gotten sick of the alternatives suggested to her and would start sobbing sometimes when we go outside because she will see all of these food places only to realize she cannot eat what she wants. I feel for her. I really do. Our relationship started to break down a little when she started taking her anger out at me. My offense? Ordering the things I like to eat, such as cookies, cheese, frozen snacks. We get groceries delivered to us, by the way. She was extremely mad at me for being able to enjoy eating these things and made me feel guilty for eating stuff she craves. My breaking point was one time she angry cried over the fact I brought home a box of donuts I received from office on my birthday. I was sick of her behavior and the constant policing of my food intake in our home that I, in no uncertain terms, made it very clear that she cannot punish me for a health problem she has, and that this is my house too, and I will eat and drink whatever and whenever I please. We had a bad argument that day, and I uttered divorce. That seemed to shake us both, and we did a few sessions of marital counseling. To keep it short, our therapist held her accountable and shared that it was unfair to me to be at the receiving end of her emotional distress. However, she also emphasized that my wife is probably feeling unsupported too, and I could try to be a little bit more discreet and stick to making healthier meals together, which would be great for both of us. Since my wife cannot make up for excess blood sugar she has by working out a lot, she is chubby and has bad knees, I can see why she feels helpless. As a solution, we decided to stock up the forbidden foods in the second fridge we have in the drawing room of our home that we use to store drinks and guest snacks. It's better when reminders of the things she craves but can't eat are not there in the common fridge. This also means I can almost never order takeout at home, and sometimes I miss doing that while watching Netflix. I still missed having the occasional pasta dish at the Cheesecake Factory or McDonald's, so sometimes when I drive home from work, I eat in my car, keeping the therapist reminder triggers in mind, because I know that my wife, knowing that I ate stuff she can't, will make her mad. Yesterday, though, I took my wife on a long drive, and she found a receipt for the Cheesecake Factory on the floor of my car. At the moment she found it, she started sobbing and wouldn't talk to me. She is now pissed at me and feels like I have betrayed her. I think she is overreacting, and I don't think I'm wrong, since 80% of the meals I have in a week are with her. I try to have takeouts without her on Fridays mostly. I do not think I'm an asshole because my wife and I have an agreement that I will be discreet when I want to indulge in food I want to eat, so that she does not feel triggered every time. Am I the asshole?
Am I wrong for not wanting my wife's best friend to be the first person we tell about our pregnancy? My wife and I have been married over 5 years. We just recently found out that we are pregnant after trying, and we are discussing who we are going to tell and when during the pregnancy. My wife insisted that she had to tell her best friend soon. Let's call her best friend Sarah. Sarah and I are on fine terms currently, but it wasn't always this way. When my wife and I first began to date, Sarah caused us many issues that I'm surprised my wife and I's relationship lasted through. Essentially, Sarah was afraid of losing her best friend. My wife and Sarah were connected at the hip all throughout college and even after college for many years. They were so close that multiple people in my wife's family even assumed that my wife was a lesbian with Sarah and had not come out yet. My wife's straight as I am a male. Again, this has caused many issues. Sarah has never also been in a relationship over 30 years old and therefore cannot empathize with how they work, let alone marriage. Sarah also sometimes has a drinking problem, which causes drama and problems, again, at countless times throughout my relationship with my wife. A few years ago, Sarah and I patched things up and even became quite close from time to time. However, problems still come up on a semi-regular basis that she creates, whether they are big or small. Most recently, she falsely accused me of some stuff and then brought my wife into the situation when she had nothing to do with it. Again, this created a rift between Sarah and I. Sarah has also verbally expressed that she does not want us to have children because it will forever change her relationship with my wife. She said she would be happy for us and want my wife and I to do what we want to do and what will make us happy, but that is not something that Sarah personally wants. Because of this, I know she will not be happy when we tell her, like we are hoping everyone is. Today, after all of this history, which is hard to encompass in one small post, I just don't believe that she should be the first person we tell. I think that whoever we tell first should be someone who honors and respects our marriage and loves both of us and will be ecstatic for us. I personally feel like the first person we tell should be someone special and that Sarah does not deserve this privilege. Unfortunately, both sets of parents are out of the question to be the first due to distance issues.
Am I the astronaut for not taking future mother-in-law to the bridal appointment? I am looking for advice on how to kindly explain to my future mother-in-law why she was not invited to my bridal appointment. I went to a sample sale back in December and wound up buying the first dress I tried on. My two sisters and my mom were in the entourage. The dress was 60% off and was exactly what I was looking for. Simple, no lace, no beading, no mesh, fit and flare with a train, so it was a no-brainer that this was the one. My expectations were low, as I was worried there would not be a sample gown that would fit me, but this dress was it. Now on to my future mother-in-law. She has been so bitter this entire planning process and makes a face of disgust every time we show her our wedding plans. Hates the colors, the venue, the food, the photographer, you name it. She will find something about it that she does not like. I hate what I see when I look in the mirror, so I was not mentally prepared for her inevitable criticisms of the dress, as, in my opinion, it is in a way a criticism of my body. My fiance disagreed and said that she would never be so harsh about my looks, but I do not feel that way. She would not have liked the experience. She would have talked me out of this dress. My future mother-in-law is not one to buy something on the spot. She would have wanted me to go home and think on it before buying it. Now, this is practical, but not how the sample sale worked, as you had to say yes on the spot, otherwise it would go to another bride. She also would not have been able to see my vision, as the dress still needed alterations. For these reasons, I knew taking her along to the appointment would have resulted in tears, confusion, and not finding a dress. I swear I intended to take her to the next shopping trip, which wound up not being necessary. And if she had not started giving me the silent treatment, I was going to take her to a bridal fitting. Now here's where I might be the astronaut. Since getting the dress without her present, her negative comments have gotten much worse, and I have started getting my guard up as soon as we start talking about the wedding with her. It is to the point where I cannot even handle constructive criticism from her because I am in full fight or flight mode when she is around. I am honestly not sure who is giving who the silent treatment at this point. We have stopped talking to each other. Stalemate. Tomorrow, we're supposed to go have a talk with my fiance present, and I need to explain to her with a calm head why things have changed between us. I feel like this all could have been avoided if she had just come to the damn bridal appointment in the first place, and if I had a spine, I could have always just ignored her comments and brought the dress anyways. Am I the astronaut?
Am I wrong for telling my sister she was being very obvious when trying to hide her pregnancy? My sister Amber is currently 3 months pregnant with twins. She's already begun to develop a bump. Right now, she's only told myself, our parents, and our brothers, as well as giving myself and our brother permission to tell our spouses. We've all agreed to keep it a secret until she's ready. The issue is she's become very obvious about it, to the point where she's doing nearly comical things to hide it when we're around family. Picture the stuff people do in sitcoms when the characters aren't pregnant but the actor is, covering her stomach with her purse, holding her older daughter in front of the bump, wearing much baggier clothes when she's typically the type to wear things that show off her figure. Amber has always been pretty fit as she's a gym rat. The bump itself doesn't even look extra fat or anything, just a very pronounced baby bump. If she ever has to move something from her stomach, she's very quick to hide it. So obviously, many have caught on, but for the most part, we're good sports. No one ever directly asked but would make hints. I never entertained them. We all gathered on Sunday for a family dinner. Amber was holding her 2-year-old for a bit when the little ones wanted to go play. Amber then tried to cover herself with a blanket. My cousin 30 said, "All right, Amber, cut the dramatics. We all know." A few instantly reprimanded my cousin. Amber turned bright red. She refused to say anything in the moment, though later quietly confirmed to our aunt, telling her to spread it around. Amber is now very upset. I agree our cousin was obnoxious and shouldn't have said anything. I've tried to be supportive and comforting. However, Amber kept saying, "I don't know how they figured it out." I finally said, "Sweetie, you really weren't trying hard. I respect why you wanted to wait, but by this point it was quite obvious." She got mad and tried to insist it wasn't obvious. I said it absolutely was, and she didn't help matters by acting like she was in a sitcom. I stressed that our cousin was wrong, but she wasn't as stealthy as she thought. Now she's mad at me saying that I'm victim blaming. I said I'm absolutely not. No one should have said anything, but she was just being obvious and she couldn't pretend otherwise. Am I the asshole?